My name is Saravana Kumar and I'm from Chennai, India. I quit my job around 10 years back in order to travel and to live a simpler, more meaningful life. This is my story and the story of India in motion.
Daylight is fading. Your journey is ending. They tell me you'll never come again.
I grew up in a small village called Sirumugai in Tamil Nadu. It is located at the foothills of the Nilgiris, and I grew up watching those blue mountains almost every day of my childhood. I went to college in Coimbatore and then moved to Chennai for my first job in 1999 and then moved to Bangalore a couple of years later. I spent most of my career working for Huawei, which is a Chinese telecom company. I traveled to Beijing almost every year and I spent a lot of time in China. Looking back, the time I spent in China were the most transformative years of my life. Coming from a small village in India, I was totally out of my comfort zone, living in an unfamiliar country, far away from the protective cocoon of my childhood. I was exposed to a totally different culture, faced many challenges, made many mistakes, and also had a lot of new experiences. All these things shaped me and helped me grow and become the person that I am today.
Daylight is fading. The leaves have fallen, feeling so cold now inside my mind.
China has two big holidays every year, one for the Spring Festival in January and another one for the national holidays in October-November. Both these times we get around a week to 10 days off from work, and this is how I started traveling. The first couple of trips were with organized groups, but after that I started taking off alone, backpacking to different corners of China. I caught my travel bug in China and never looked back from there. My first trip to the Himalayas was to Sikkim in 2007, and my first trek was the Sungri Goichala trek. It is a beautiful trek inside the Kanchenjunga National Park, and I could not have asked for a better introduction to the Himalayas. It was just a short trip of just a couple of weeks, but the Himalayas left a permanent mark on me. The mountains were calling, and I had to answer. Later that year, I decided to quit my job and travel for a few months. But my manager did not want to let me go, and instead he offered a long sabbatical. So I took his offer and I took my bike and then went on a 3-month trip to Sikkim, Bhutan, Assam and Arunachal. The first thing I did on the trip was to go back to Sikkim and I did the Goichala trek again. I could never forget the moment when on the summit day we were climbing up towards the Goichala viewpoint and the first light of the day hit the peaks surrounding me. One by one, the 7,000 plus meters around me started glowing like molten gold and I was overflowing with happiness. I clearly remember thinking that time that if the world ended right now, I would go happily because life couldn't get much better than this.
You must go now. Take hold of all you know now.
My sabbatical was supposed to quench my thirst for travel, but it had the total opposite effect. I desperately wanted to break out of the rat race that we all find ourselves in. Society programs us for this rat race. We are automatically subscribed to the materialistic lifestyle whether we want it or not. Success is determined by the quantity of things one has instead of the quality of their lives. Over the years, I realized that the things that truly made me happy were either moments from spending time with the people I loved or from doing things I loved like traveling, photography, hiking, etc. I had the money to do all those things that I loved, but ironically, I did not have the time to do them. One way to break out of that vicious cycle was to downshift, which is to move from a financially rewarding but stressful lifestyle down to a less intense, lower paid but more fulfilling life. There were two ways to go about it. And the first option was to downshift my current job, either by working less hours for less pay or by choosing to work only for a few months a year and then spend the rest of the time towards things I loved like traveling, etc. But I chose to go all in and chose a more radical option. I chose to downshift my career by quitting my job and finding a completely different line of work in the area that I was passionate about. Of course, the second option was more risky and there was a good chance that I would not succeed. But at least I could come back with the satisfaction that I had given it my all and go through the rest of my life without any regrets and without constantly looking back and wondering how things might have been if I had chosen a different path. So I decided to quit my job, but I could not do it immediately. I had just bought an apartment in Bangalore and I was paying EMI for it, and my parents were also financially dependent on me. So I had to have enough savings to sustain me for at least 3 to 4 years. So I decided to continue working for another couple of years, finished a few important projects at work, and saved as much as possible, and finally quit my job in 2010.
Cold winds blow in perfect time to bring you back to me. Until then, let me sleep until the warmth of the sun is on our side.
2010 was a huge year for me. The first thing I did after quitting my job was to go to Rishikesh and studied yoga for a month. I was always interested and very curious about the spiritual part of yoga, and the 1 month teacher training course at the Shivananda Ashram gave me a good insight into our Vedic philosophy. I did not practice much yoga after leaving the course, but the spiritual teachings always remained with me, and I could draw some parallels in my life, especially while spending some time alone in the mountains. After the yoga course, I took my bicycle and went to Manali and then to Ladakh, all unsupported and solo as usual. It was a wonderful trip. I spent a couple of months exploring Ladakh by bicycle and finally returned home in the middle of November. I did a few trips in South India and traveled to Southeast Asia as well, but the mountains kept calling me back. I did a mountaineering course in HMA Darjeeling and did a lot of treks in those early days. They were all wonderful experiences, but something was still missing. Back then, I was working on a travel website called Ketik.com. It was my plan to remotely run a business while on the road, but frankly, my heart was not in it. Because even if I succeeded, I knew that it would pull me right back into the rat race that I was desperately trying to get out of. I wanted to find something more fulfilling, something I could do with all my heart. I wanted to find my purpose, my reason for being.
My heart is heavy from holding so tightly to only a memory remains.
I was introduced to time-lapse photography in late 2013 and something clicked immediately. I loved the whole idea of it. I loved the idea of being able to compress time and convey the sense of being in a place, witnessing the clouds move, the magic of a beautiful sunrise, sunset, etc. Time-lapse photography requires a lot of patience, and it was something that I was best suited for. It was also more relaxing to me personally, as it allowed me to slow down and experience the beautiful moments that I encounter on my travels. So for the first time since I quit my job, I had something that I believed in, something that I felt that I was meant to do. So I went all in, and India in Motion was born with the original idea of showcasing our country's beauty through motion time-lapse videos. Having decided that time-lapse photography is my future, I went all in and I immediately ordered the best motion time-lapse controller at the time, which was the Emotimo TB3. This is typically how I operate. If I believe in something and if something feels right, then I go all in without any thoughts about money. Money is something you can always make up in the future, but lost time is something that can never be recovered. So I believe that you should absolutely go all in as far as equipment is concerned and have the right tools and resources to pursue your dreams. I consider these things as investments, and in my experience, they always pay for themselves many times over in the longer run. So I spend a lot of money on equipment and balance it out by traveling cheaply and living as simply as possible, which means I stay in the cheapest guest houses, preferring to cook myself instead of eating out, minimizing creature comforts, camping wherever possible, and cutting down on frivolous things like drinking, socializing, etc. So, like always, everything we do in life has both its good and bad sides. Living this way has allowed me to stay focused and pursue my dreams, but on the other side, it has also made me a kind of a recluse and made it harder for me to socialize with people and meet somebody to share these dreams with, etc. Anyway, I dedicated all of 2014 towards time-lapse photography. First by learning the ropes in Uttarakhand and Manali, and then finally when I was ready, I went to Ladakh for a couple of months during the autumn of 2014, and then a few months later during the winter of 2015, and I made my first proper time-lapse video, which is Ladakh, a time-lapse journey. That video did not do as well as I expected. In the 5 years since I uploaded the video, it has gotten around 1 lakh views and it made me a grand total of $25 in those 5 years. But it was seen by the right people, and especially by the ones at Royal Enfield who loved it and offered me a project doing a series of similar time-lapse videos for them around Ladakh. This completely validated my choices, and there was no looking back after this.
Cold winds blow in perfect time to bring you back to me. Until then, let me sleep until the warmth of the sun is on our side.
It is a nice quote, right? I have to admit that I was a bit skeptical when I first came across it and other similar quotes and teachings. But my experience over these past few years has made me more open about these things. Take for instance the Royal Enfield project in 2015. What I told you earlier is just one half of the story. I was in a full-blown financial crisis at the beginning of 2015. Remember the apartment I told you about before? I had it in my possession since 2011, but I had still not registered it in 2015 because I did not have the money for it. But in the beginning of 2015, the developer emailed me saying that they were going to close registration soon, and they asked me to register it before September of 2015. And also the registration cost had jumped from 4 lakhs in 2011 to about 7 lakhs in 2015, and I had some unpaid property tax dues of about 1 lakh to pay on top of that. There was no way that I could come up with 8 lakh rupees to cover all those costs. So I was seriously considering either selling the apartment or going back to work. I was struggling with this decision when Royal Enfield contacted me with the project idea. I made a little over 6 lakhs from the project, and it covered most of my registration expenses. Similarly, two of my biggest series till date, The Story of Tudnam and the Living with the Changpa series, both happened by accident. Till 2017, I was mostly interested in shooting time-lapse videos. And in the March of 2017, I hitchhiked to the Sokar Lake to shoot some videos there. And I was walking to the Tukche village when I met Sering Durji. He told me that the village was empty, and he invited me to his Changpa camp at the shores of the Tarsapuk Lake and introduced me to the Changpa way of life. And 1 month later, I was hiking in Pin Valley to shoot my time-lapse videos when I was caught in a snowstorm and had to take refuge in the village of Tudnam. Life at both these places were incredibly tough, both with respect to the harsh winter climate and the scant resources at the disposal of the people. I was so fascinated and inspired by their way of life that I wanted to go back, live with them, and experience their way of life for myself. This is how the idea for both these series started, and now my focus has shifted from just making time-lapse videos to instead telling the stories of the people and places that I meet along my way on my travels. So, coming back to the original quote, these things that happened in my life might be purely coincidental, but I do believe that if you have a dream and work hard and follow it with all your heart, then things will come together in a way to help you and support you along your journey. People will start noticing you and be drawn to your positive energy. Even a few encouraging comments from them in the beginning are all that is needed to lift your spirits up when you're feeling low and help you keep grinding forward. Some people might see themselves in you. They will see a part of themselves who had similar dreams but had to follow a different path due to some circumstances in their life, and they will try to support you in whatever way they can to help you along your journey. Of this I'm absolutely certain because this is exactly what is happening to me right now.
Take hold of all you know now. Cold winds blow in perfect time to bring you back to me. Until then, let me sleep until the warmth of the sun is on our side.
Of course, do note that it took me 10 years to reach this point and I still have a long way to go. So if anybody watching is thinking of following me in my footsteps, do note that it is going to be a long, hard journey. The key to doing anything worthwhile in life is to do it with all your heart and do it without any expectations of any payoffs or any rewards at the end. The journey and the experiences along the way are rewards in themselves. Accept everything that comes in your way, the good, the bad, the happiness, the sorrow, the hardships and the challenges. Trust me, the universe will throw all this and more at you. So take them all as positive learning experiences. Maybe it will work out in the end or maybe it won't, but it will help you grow as a person and you will come out without any regrets in the end. So give it your best shot and keep moving forward one step at a time.
You must go now. Take hold of all you know now.
So, what are my plans for the future and what is my plan for India Motion going forward? So frankly, I'm not a very ambitious person and I definitely don't want to grow India Motion like a business. I just want to keep focusing on my channel and I want to make better quality videos in the future and I want to make more documentary style videos similar to the Living with the Changpas or the Story of Tudnam series, but with better quality, with better interactions with the locals. Frankly, I'm a little bit shy about taking interviews with people and recording our conversations. This is something I really need to work on if I have to improve the quality of my videos. On a more personal level, one of my long-term dreams is to move to the mountains and have a base in some central place like Manali, which is well connected and has easy access to places like Ladakh, Lahul Spiti, Kinnaur, etc. I want to start off by renting a place for a couple of years to see how it goes and then finally, selling my place in Bangalore and making a more permanent shift to the mountains. I haven't had a place to call my own for the last 10 years, so I'm really looking forward to making this move next year and hopefully kickstart the next phase of my life. This is going to be another exciting journey and I hope you all come with me on this. So thank you all for watching. Thank you so much for supporting me through various means like Patreon, UPI, etc., which makes all of this possible. So thank you so much. Stay tuned and see you in the next video.